Hello, all, and thank you for tuning in to The You in Youth by Sohail Daulat. The You in Youth is a new podcast funded by the National Reach Coalition in hope to raise awareness of the stories of the youth between the ages of 18 to 25. The National Reach Coalition aims to help underserved racial and ethnic communities achieve health equity, and we hope to use this podcast as a way to build resiliency through unity among the youth by sharing the impact COVID-19 had on us. If you are interested in being interviewed on this podcast, please reach out to me at sdaulat@email.arizona.edu. That's spelled SDAULAT at email.arizona.edu. Hello, all. Welcome back to the You and Youth. Today, we will be having Rihanna Fuentes, a high school student from the Navajo Nation, who is interested in sharing his story and experiences regarding COVID-19. So today we'll be talking a little bit more about your experiences during COVID-19 and how it has affected you, as well as your people around you, whether it's the community or people you grew up with or your friends or whoever it may be. So can you tell me a little bit more about your background and kind of where you are from and who you are?
Hello, my name is Rihanna Fuentes. I'm usually not from Phoenix whatsoever. I am from a place called a little small town called Kimis Canyon up on the Navajo reservation. I'm currently 18 years old and I go to student choice as of right now. I will be transferring to Callis High School. Raymond S. Callis, yes. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Okay, awesome. Well, can you tell me a little bit about how COVID-19 has affected you in any regard?
As being a Native American,
Well, yeah, as a student, as a Native American, as a youth and a member of society, how has COVID-19 affected you?
hmm. Well, COVID-19 has affected a lot of my people, not just from down here, but also on our lands. There was about, to be honest, there was more than a million than of us. There was, on the reservation, there was about, I would say, more than a million people living there, but not just us, to be honest. There's different cultures out there, but mainly natives. We were affected by this COVID-19 by not going to school. Most of our transport was not to even go out anywhere. So once we go out, we had to have at least a few months of supplies, which is very normal for us. But when we get to the town, mainly all the food has been taken. Literally, there's no water. Either which way, there's no running water, but we need fresh water at our house. So when we go to the stores, there's no fresh water, there's no meat, which we need. There was barely any milk. There was barely any foods for any of our farm animals: cows, horses, chickens, dogs, cats. We had everything. We have everything. But it's not just, feed ourselves, but also to feed, our animals and the people around us that live with us, which meaning that we had to spend more money. But when we don't see and what we need, it affects us in that way. So food was a big problem. I'll be honest on that part. Food was a very big problem. And knowing, here's a little info based on that. The stores from us are very far away. So just to go to the nearest city is about 3.5 hours at least. And it's very far. The closest one to us was Gallup, New Mexico. The down store was about 45-minute drive, depending on how you drive. And there was literally no meat down there whatsoever. And if there was meat, it probably had to be transported from very far away. And not just that, but COVID-19 has also made a big affection on many, many people because we have lost many people during to COVID-19 because our hospitals there, we only have one hospital. And to be honest, it's about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours just from where I live, from where my great great grandmother's house is far away. If you were to have a heart attack or if you get so sick that you can't even move yourself, that's just basically your deathbed as of right there. So yeah, during this COVID whole entire 19, getting sick was very common. And, there was a lot of sinuses to it. So a lot of people got weak from it. Some people couldn't move, some people couldn't like talk, some were just so ill that you couldn't even go in there to even help them. That's why we had to call a lot of the paramedics, and knowing that paramedics were probably really busy with that whole entire COVID-19, and they only had about 2 transports of that. And there was no fire departments close by. There was no other hospitals that were small that were close by. There was only one hospital from where I was at, meaning that, yeah, some very few people got lucky, but many didn't.
Wow, that's very concerning to hear, especially during a time where during the pandemic, that's really when the people would need this access to healthcare. And just to hear that this access wasn't there is just very tragic. Can you talk a little bit more about the food scarcity? How did COVID-19 play a role in that? Did COVID-19 cause the food scarcity, do you feel? And also, how did the food scarcity make it worse during COVID-19 as a whole?
Well, I would say that yes, COVID-19 did take a part of this big in the food scarcity and everything. Reason why I say that is because we went down on lockdown. So our native people were at 100%, when we had many, many, many Navajos as in our culture. But during all these COVID-19 or like Ebola or anything that has to go on up there, mainly takes down that percentages. Whether it's big, whether it's small, it takes a lot of people from ours. So as of right now, I would say we're about 50 to 55% of natives still living still. Maybe my percentages are wrong, but it just depends on where the person's living. But this COVID-19, when it hit, they put us on big lockdown. Nobody could leave their homes. Nobody could even go to the nearest water stations to even get ourselves water. And we had to put on masks, of course, and we had to keep ourselves very protected by 6 feet apart. And not just that, but people had to be waiting outside the stores to the nearest one, wherever they are, just to wait. And people have to be there really, really early before even going into the store. And if you're not there on time, then this food that's already in there and restocked would go out.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope that answers the question of what I mean.
Yeah.
But yeah, we really do, we blame COVID-19 for stealing our food away.
Wow. Wow. That's very intense.
Yeah. And I forgot to add in something. Not only did COVID-19 affect our people, but it also affected our lands by our crops and also our animals.
Okay. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Reason why I say that is because when these people get sick, there's not many people to live in these homes. In my house, from where I live at, when my great grandmother was alive, there was only about, I would say, 4 people that lived there. When we lived there was many, 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 many animals to take care of. But when COVID hit, everything was healthy. But when COVID hit, our crops died. Most of the sheep had passed away because they were getting sick. And then the people who were there to take care of them were getting sick at the same time. So they couldn't even get out of their beds to even go back out there and feed them. So we would have to call somebody else, another family member, to see if they could help us out because they were too weak. Mm-hmm. And if they then those sheep would, take things into their own hands and actually start jumping the gates. And they would go down to the canyon and they want to end up coming back. So we will lose our livestock.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow. That's very concerning and very intense. And so you saw this kind of chain of it, going from it affecting the livestock, which would affect food scarcity, which would affect the people, and it kind of like a cycle that was occurring, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so then can you talk a little bit more about you were talking about how even the access to healthcare was very limited, 2 hours away from your house. That's that's really hard to, accommodate. So regarding that, do you feel that what do you feel could have been done better to kind of change that, whether it be um, government intervention or whether it be help from the community, whether the Navajo Nation or outside communities? Is there anything like that you think would have helped, or what are your thoughts on bringing the access to the healthcare to you guys?
Well, for us, as you know, I would probably speak for many of my people. They probably agree on me about a lot of parts. But even though before COVID hit, the hospital was a problem. But I think the main thing that would help out a lot more people is to actually build some small hospitals around, or like a little bit farther. Like they don't have to be as big as the first one that we have as of right now, but to build up some little small medic places so it could be easier when there's actually a big emergency. So then we have to keep losing lives like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I take that into consideration very because I have epilepsy,
Okay.
and epilepsy is very scary. That one you can swallow your tongue, you can just like have it anytime and you won't even know it. And if that happens, there will be nobody around because people are way far away.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have that, you're gone, because nobody knows where you are, nobody knows your last location, nobody's know where you went. And it would just be hard for the paramedics to even find you.
Right.
So I would say building another one would help. But the Navajo Nation and our president Jonathan Nez has actually helped us out, and also the Washington D.C. Donald Trump at the moment and Joe Biden has helped us out with the checks that we have got.
Okay.
2,000, 350, 200 for kids and adults. We actually, sent that we use that money to put to most of our bills, to the livestock, and for ourselves to go more farther than the closest city. So that was our little help as of right there.
Okay. Okay. So you're saying that there was some help, but what really could have helped is some kind of clinic or something that could have been local, where not only could the doctor have possibly known more about the culture, but also been able to get quicker access in case of some emergency happen, correct?
Yes.
Okay, okay, no, that's good to know. And then, so what are your thoughts on the revenue on the other hand? I know that you were saying the government did give some checks to help out, but do you feel like there was any issues with income and revenue, whether it's the youth specifically, they were losing jobs, or did you ever see that? I know it's because when the casino shut down, it really did hurt the Native American population. Did you see that have a huge impact, or can you talk a little bit more about that?
About the casinos or youth impact based on jobs?
Both, or whichever one you know more about.
As of right now, as of what I've heard, because I do have some friends that live near the Twin Arrows Casino. Yes, that did shut down. They finally did reopen.
Mm-hmm.
It's To be honest, I think a lot of people did lose their jobs based on that. Because during this whole entire time of COVID-19, everybody needs a job in order to basically stay alive. Because as of right now, up there, it's like survival tactics. Everybody has to fight for a job because it's not like the city where you can just go to any store, apply, and get hired. You know, Up there, it's like, it's rather the school, it's rather the gas station, it's rather the store, or it's like helping out at the hospital. That's the only options you have. So if
Mm-hmm.
you don't have those options, then you're in trouble.
Yeah.
You know? And, but yeah, I've heard that the Twin Arrows Casino did shut down for a little bit. Many people did lose their jobs. I had a few friends that went there. They worked there as securities, as operators, as technicians, and some of them did lose their jobs because they said that we only have 6 technicians, so we need to let half of you guys go, and we're sorry. But it doesn't give them the right to not give them unemployment or checks, other bonus checks or anything that they helped out as far as they could. but that wasn't their fault. It's
Mhm.
COVID-19's fault. So, but also close to us from where I'm around in my corner, there is no way of any local youth of getting a job whatsoever.
Because
If
of
you have,
COVID or before COVID?
this is when COVID.
Oh, so because of COVID, a lot of youth were losing their jobs.
Yes.
Okay.
Um, yes. I had a job down there too, which was working with the school. I volunteered, also worked at the same time, which was cleaning and helping out teachers as like a, what do you call this? Like teacher's pet, but you still get paid. So I helped out with that. My grandmother was a bus driver there, and she helped out. She was there for about more than 30 years, of course. She was there for a very long time. She was a bus driver. I was her little pet. I was a teacher's pet. We both got paid. But unfortunately, when COVID hit, they told my grandma to, go ahead and retire, and she didn't want to. But schools were already shutting down, so they said, what was the point of no transport? So she lost her job. She retired early. Now she's living down here with me and my aunts at her house, which
Okay.
sucked. And I lost my job at the same time too.
Oh man.
And a lot of the kids there lost their jobs. So now we have to look up to selling cake, selling cookies, baking. That's like our main thing. Selling fry bread. That's like having sales all the time.
Mhm.
And to be honest, I don't think anybody would want the same thing over and over in the same place and same community because you'll be tasting the same thing every day. So that gives us the hard part is to come up with new things, which is a little bit great because, creating new things is better, but at the same time, you don't want to lose what you already have.
Yeah, no, that's harsh. And yeah, COVID really did just destroy so many lives because of just the lack of job opportunities and just lack of income. And now since we're transitioning more towards the impact it had on youth, can you, if you want to talk a little bit more about what you're talking about youth jobs, but also more about how COVID-19 impacted youth regarding education or technology or anything else, that how COVID-19 impacted the youth?
Well, for the youth, so there's many problems based on 18 and younger, of course,
Mhm.
because there's not very many schools on the reservation either. I would say there's like one, two, there's like two elementary schools there, but there's only one high school there.
Mhm.
So, and from which I know at least, which is only Kimis Kenya High School, Jedato School, and also Bruins High School.
Yeah.
I think where everybody mainly graduates from. But if you want to, go to a different school, you have to go to like farther places like dorms and Windorah, Ganado, Holbrook, or anywhere, but it has to be far, which sucks because you have to worry about your parents at the same time because you don't know if they need help or what's going on. And but the youth, as of right now during COVID-19, we don't have no transportation.
Oh, okay. Like the youth
And
specifically, or most people in
yes,
general?
youth.
Okay.
And also not just that, but the city is different from here because the city has money to give their schools tablets or computers or just that one time for the 1 year of COVID-19. Well, now
Mhm.
it's like what, 2 years?
Yeah.
So up there we don't have that, because there's barely any signal, there's barely any Wi-Fi, there's not much to have up there, so we don't have computers.
Okay.
So for us to keep wasting money on gas and going farther and farther to the gas station, it takes that away from going to the school and even picking up the papers.
Hmm.
So we have to go to the school, pick up the papers, do the homework, then go back to the school, then get the next assignment, keep going back, get gas again, and it's just a whole entire circle from there.
Yeah.
You for the people that live closer, they can just walk across it, but there's not many very homes there because you have the staff homes, and then you have the small little condos, and then you have the teacher's home downstairs, and it's just not much to live there, you know? So, which makes it a lot harder for a lot of youth to even go anywhere.
Oh yeah, wow. Wow, that here. I feel like education during a time where technology was the biggest way, like Zoom and everything was the biggest way to communicate between teachers and students. The lack of technology and Wi-Fi and resources really hurt the student education, correct?
Hmm.
And so, do you feel that a lot of students from the Navajo Nation took a year or two off, or dropped out of school, or something to that extent?
Well, um, as of right now, I want to know much about that part about, the kids going to school. I mean, from there on out, all I know is just about, transportation, getting to work and getting the work done and
Hmm.
go to school. That I don't know much about that part.
Okay. Okay, no
But
worries.
yeah, I mean, that's all I could say. But I do know that some of the sports are on. I was
Hmm.
about like basketball for the girls.
Okay.
Um, I do hear some students going back to school as of right now, back to school for summer school, getting their stuff done. And yeah, that's all I know as of right now about their school because I
Mhm.
don't go back down there no more because I moved down here before COVID-19 happened, probably like a month later.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
are you able to talk a little bit more about the transition from high school to college, maybe? How COVID-19 may have affected that. A lot of students who from the Navajo Nation wanted to go to college, but maybe weren't able to, or just a lot harder to go to college. Any thoughts on that?
Well, from what I've seen and what I've heard, or well, I myself is not in college as of right now. I'm
Hmm.
still, I'm still in high school because I guess there's a law there, and that means that if you're born in like the end of the year, as for me, I'm born in December, you have
Yeah.
to go late. Yeah,
Hmm.
and so I'm a late baby, and Ohio, which also took me another year out of school. But for kids that are going to high school to college, that part would be a little bit harder because the Navajo Nation doesn't really have much money to give to the students in order to get a scholarship or even
Hmm.
go to the college that they want to and pay for it. It just, they really look out for the kids that really get straight A's all the time for the next 4 years of their high school. That's the main thing that they look for. And if you did get a scholarship, then you are very lucky.
Okay. Oh wow. Okay. Okay.
So very rare, I will tell you that.
Hmm. And so I really like your perspective of someone who is still in high school because you're the first high school student I have interviewed. Can you tell me a little bit more about maybe how COVID-19 have affects the mental health of students, whether it's not being able to go to school and like seeing your friends or having that interaction with the teachers, or not really being able to go outside for the longest time because we've been having to supposed to social distance and stay at home for about a year and a half to 2 years. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I will be very honest with you on that part.
Mhm.
So, communication is key, to communicate with your teachers, to communicate with other people, your friends, your family, people that you want to communicate with. So, for me, as when I was living out there, to be honest, it's very hard, even without COVID-19, because COVID-19 is a little bit basically the same because like I said, you're in survival mode. So you have to, but this one's a little bit different. You have a sickness that's going around. So I think the kids need to get in contact with their teacher for their homework. And then parents too, they if their kids they having trouble or they're missing school or they're sick, who do they call?
Mhm.
They call the front office. They don't even know if a person's there working there. Who do they call the superintendent? We don't know.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and then not just that, but in order to learn, communication is like the best thing to do, because you're always gonna need help on something, People like your mom, your dad, or other friends and family, they probably won't understand it as much as you would or another person would. And So, you know, you have visual learners, you have hands-on learners, you have like, you know, kids that can, you know, learn any way that they want.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a big problem that I think all people like me or whoever live on the reservation, the main key that we probably have to, you know, really look on is we are all hands-on learners. We have to be there in person in order to learn.
Mm-hmm.
These kids that have to stay at home or some of them that are going to school are lucky, you know, but the people that have to stay home during COVID and everything makes it harder
Okay.
because, you know, you're looking at the work on this paper and you're like, I do not understand this, you know. Some people don't understand division, some don't understand algebra, some don't understand like, you know, whatever math that they're being given, you know, the paper is
Mm-hmm.
there, but you're not being taught, you
Yeah.
know. The person not standing beside you to tell you what to do, how to do it, and how to solve that problem, which makes
Yeah.
it hard to do it
Mm-hmm.
because in class and you know they don't have these like wallpapers, the chalkboards, you know, to you know actually write the problems on and try to solve it with the teacher. And the teacher can't tell them, you know, what they did wrong. They
Yeah,
have to they have to figure it out themselves.
definitely.
It's hard because for me, I am a hands-on learner, and I have to be there in person in order to learn something.
Mm-hmm.
And if I don't, it gets confusing, it gets hard, and it just messes with your brain, which makes you go like a little bit crazy. Then you stress over it, and you know, there's nobody there to help you. You know, you tell your brother, you tell your mom, and you tell your dad, whoever's there with you, and then they're like giving you different methods, which makes the confusion bigger.
Mm-hmm.
So you like, you know, you just start to stress out based on that point as of right there.
Yeah.
And it's better for the little kids, but probably some of them don't really care because they're little, like kindergartens to like second grade, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I would say those years as of right there are the like important years to actually start learning stuff.
Yeah. So you're saying that like the fact that COVID-19 is also affecting even the very young youth, right in the prime education when everything should be starting.
Mm,
Um, that now it's affecting that. So that could even possibly have long-term effects on how they study and what they study.
yeah.
Yeah, wow. Okay. Yeah, that's something I never thought of, and that's a really good point. So another thing is so I was doing some reading on the Navajo Nation, and I read somewhere that the culture of the Navajo Nation is very focused on respecting your elders and taking care of them and protecting them. Is that true?
Yes.
Yes.
Very.
So very true. Yeah. And so then do you feel that I read somewhere that there were because of that a lot of youth activists or people who really motivated from the youth went out and try to do stuff for the whether it's for the elderly or for the community as a whole um regarding COVID-19. So what do you feel that the role of youth was during COVID-19? How do you like what are the programs that the youth were involved in or anything that like the youth as in the ages between 18 to 25 did to kind of help the community with COVID-19?
So based on the yeah, well, I was a part of that too because we do help out some of our families that are down there, so they don't have to go out, you know, to waste gas and everything. So for us here, it'll probably be wasting more and more gas than they are because we're from Phoenix and over there is like a 6 to 8 hour drive at least, depending on how you drive and how the weather is.
Mm-hmm.
And from their house to you know to the city is about 3 hours, you know, but we're wasting more gas. But we, you know, rather get the money and food for them so they don't have to get sick. So based on 18 to 25, I have heard that they are doing community works. And I would say mainly all of this is coming from the president, Jonathan Nez, and from other places of Window Holbrook, Cholo, Gallup, New Mexico. They are banding together to, you know, go ahead and raise up as much money as they can to go ahead and go to the stores and get the first pick of the meat and vegetables and everything that they need and deliver it to these elderly people.
Oh,
because
wow.
but as you said, so I'm gonna go a little bit back to what you said about, taking care of the elderly and
Mhm.
whoever, well, it's not just elderly, but it's whoever is older than you.
Okay.
So if I'm 18 and even if the person's like at least over 21 at least, but they're to that point where, they don't want to go outside, they're scared, they can't walk, they're old, or, they just have something that's in there, Even if they're healthy, we don't want them to risk something, you know, till something actually way more bad happens. But
Mm-hmm.
we do really care about them because we treat them as if they're our gods. Because as of COVID-19 right now, we have to care more about them because they are the main ones getting more sick. They have their immune system, which makes them get this COVID-19 way more faster. Even if you have anybody who has health problems, not just by getting old, but like diabetes, you have Down syndrome, you are, not the right person to be going outside with these health problems because you can catch them more easily.
Mm-hmm.
Um, as of right there, you have to respect people because you don't know how much longer they're gonna live or what's gonna happen. If this COVID-19 is gonna get bigger and have a more virus going outside, so we have to protect them at our best. You have to feed them, you have to take care of them, you have to treat them like a baby.
Yeah.
So that's just us. But then if you tend to, disrespect them, that shows them that you just don't care.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's why we show a lot of respect to anybody who is older than us. And in any way, other people, out of my culture should be doing the same, because they're older than you. You don't know if they were fighting the Marines, Army, if they were out there sacrificing their life for whatever, you know. All you should know is that they worked hard,
Mhm.
not just by having a job, but also by taking care of livestock and taking care of kids,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
So that's, the littlest job can be the toughest job out there.
Exactly, exactly. And I think those values that were instilled in the youth, especially in the Navajo Nation, among other cultures I know, have those values are really important because, as you said, I've seen many times that it's not just elderly or 40, 50 years older, but even people who are 5 to 10 years older, they're older and they're more experienced and they've gone through a lot more. So as a youth and supposedly who have more strength and the ability to do stuff, are able to help them, and I really really appreciate that. And so then that kind of takes me to my next question is now the youth are doing so much regarding COVID-19 and helping the community kind of survive through this pandemic. So what have you seen in your perspective and in your experiences about what the youth's thoughts are on COVID-19 as a whole, whether, wearing a mask, the news information they got regarding the vaccine, what concerns do they have about COVID-19 and the COVID-19 vaccine as a whole?
Well, as of right now, for myself, from what I've seen, it is half and half, but then also down here, we do have our own medical center, what is the PIMC. I do see a lot of people, now of Native Americans, going there to go ahead and get their COVID-19 because we do have to go back up to the res and we don't want to catch something really fast. But at the same time, a lot of these Native Americans that I've seen don't want to get the COVID-19 vaccine because from what we've heard and what we saw and what we read, the COVID-19 vaccine is an experiment.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people are basically being hamsters and rabbits as of right now. These shots are going in and coming out, and you're having reactions. Many people have reactions, and as the doctor said, you can get tired, you can get drowsy, you can have pains, you can have headaches, you can have anything, but you just won't know it. So a lot of these people are very scared of that because, once they take that shot, they wait 15 minutes to 30, they don't know what kind of symptoms they should have and have to report. Because going to any hospital, you have to wait a very, very, very long time. And as for myself and what I tell other people, if it's something so small and you feel it's not right and you have the feeling in your gut that you don't feel the way you're supposed to, you need to go to the hospital because that's just not right. And
Yeah.
the thing scaring a lot of these youngsters and also these elderlies and middle-aged people is social media. Social media is showing that when people get the COVID-19 vaccine, that there is lead in them. There's metal inside these shots. And that these shots are having also trackers. So this is what's also scared the Native American, the Native nations, to show what we don't want in our bodies, which makes not just Native Americans, but also many people not to get their COVID-19 vaccine. So I got mine from my own experience after getting my vaccine. I did get dizzy. I did get a lot of headaches for the last week. I did not feel like myself. And I was in a little bit of pain. This pain from my left arm did not go away whatsoever. But when I took on my right, it went away faster than expected.
Okay.
But the second one was not great whatsoever. And most of my family felt the same way. They were still in pain and they're still having headaches. And these ibuprofens and whatever, Tylenol, it did not take away the pain. It just made it worse.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we were a little bit skeptical about getting this vaccine done. But we got it done to try and feel a little bit safer and to see if it actually worked.
Mm-hmm.
But till this day, we do still wear our masks to have extra protection. As for my part, the 18 and older, I am scared for them. But at the same time, I do encourage them to take their vaccine. But if they don't feel right about it, then they need to visit a doctor.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is that there's quite a few things going on. It's not just one straightforward simple thing. It's quite a few things going on where one is the lack of access to the healthcare that we talked about before. So even if they got the vaccine, something felt wrong, the reactions weren't right, or whatever it may be, especially the symptoms lasting a day or two. They don't have the access to the healthcare. So if something goes wrong, they might actually be screwed. And then the second thing is all the media that's telling them possibly false information about the trackers or the other things. That's also causing a lot of fear within the youth, correct? So the combination of both is really what's causing disturbances and concerns regarding the COVID-19 vaccine.
Yes.
And so what do you feel could be, as someone who has gotten the COVID-19 vaccine and is has come out of it with a positive experience per se, um, what are the things you may suggest? Because I know you talked a little bit about how you do recommend now others getting the vaccine. However, if they do have any concerns or issues, to go to a doctor and make sure that they thoroughly get it checked out rather than just letting it up in the air. What do you think could be really beneficial, such as more youth who've gotten vaccinated to speak up and speak out and about what their experiences are? Do you feel that doctors coming to the Navajo Nation and giving speeches? Um, what are your thoughts in general? Could be to help promote, not only promote the vaccine, but also decrease the fear within the community.
So for my people to, go ahead and get their vaccine, for my encouragement to try and get it or to get it is to actually, get the COVID-19 test done first. And if you do come out positive or negative, if you're positive, try and stay away as much people as you can because, you don't want anybody else to get sick
Mm-hmm.
because this virus is deadly. And so, but if you were to have a positive effect and you were to have COVID at the time, and any person who's gonna be there to take care of you or whatever, they need to be wearing at least double masks. They need to have gloves, and they need to wash themselves before they even enter the room of the person who has COVID.
Yes.
Because that's what I've been doing for my people that have got COVID. I've always washed my hands, washed, sanitized, double my mask. I wore everything that my body would get in contact with this person in
Mm-hmm.
order to protect myself. And after they're done, if when they get out of that COVID, time period, they need to, take showers at least twice a day. They need to, sanitize every single day. They need to, have some fresh air. They need to re-cleanse their whole entire body of what they had and now is gone. And from there on out, I would say, try and stay inside as much as you can, even though you've already had it. You don't know if you can get it again. Because as of people right now, they're saying, oh, I already got the COVID-19, and I'm not going to get it anymore. Well, you don't know. You know, you don't know there's going to be a bigger disease, a bigger COVID that can sink back into your body again. So
Yeah.
that after this, COVID, I would say after you're done having that whole entire time period, go ahead and go get your shot.
Okay.
But if you feel weird, go back to the doctor again.
Okay. So you do agree that doctors do play an important role in this whole experience because they're the ones with the knowledge about it?
Well, doctors, they do play an important role because, but they also need a. So, as for the US worldwide, even to the Navajo Nation, so two different parts. So, one is the capital and then one is for the United States. I mean, for the Navajo Nation. At least some doctors need to go on TV and actually explain what's inside of this COVID vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
That by telling what's inside, but they need to really show the side effects of what's happening to people. And also, they need to try and clear the air of what's inside of this. Because meaning that when they clear the air, all this social media about having trackers, lead, metal, and whatever is inside this vaccine can stop. So people won't be so afraid to get their vaccine. And if
Yeah.
people telling other people as like for on these freeways, it says, get your vaccine, be a part of the vaccinated, or, trying to get people to get their vaccines, doctors need to go out on television and tell people, what's right and what's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So these fake news on social media can stop.
Yeah.
So people will believe the doctors instead of these childish and like grown-ups that are posting these, rather on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook, or any other social media that's out there that exploiting this COVID-19 in a different way and telling what people that is not in there is fake.
Yeah.
Don't have to worry so much about getting this vaccine.
Mm-hmm. And do you feel like if a doctor were to talk about it on TV versus maybe in person, do you think that'd make a difference?
If it's a one-on-one talk, it probably wouldn't help much people because when you probably be, like if you're talking one-on-one, you will probably need a small briefing of what's inside of what it could do and how it could help you and the other people that have not been vaccinated.
Yeah.
Because that person would, I think all people are curious of what's inside the COVID-19 as of right now.
Mm-hmm.
But if this doctor were to talk on one-on-one, at least the person will leave with information and tell their family to go get it. And that the doctor already explained to them what's in there, what could go wrong, and what may be right, but you're still, vaccinated. It could help other people.
Yeah.
But when a doctor goes on live on television, on networks, then it tells the world more, and you get more patients coming in.
Yeah.
And it going by slowly after slowly after slowly.
So you feel like it's kind of like you need to do it both ways, where it's like the truth needs to be informed, mass spread, whether it's through television or some other media, so like so many people know. But at the same time, that personal experience, that if a doctor did go one on one, it also has its pros with the patient having more trust and like really understanding what is in the vaccine, and then being able to go back and share it with their family. So you really do suggest like a double punch kind of approach.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Rihanna. Did you have anything else you would like to add about anything, whether it was your experience with COVID-19, how it's affected the youth, how it's affected your community, or anything in general?
So I would like to say something, small, not to just my culture, but to, other cultures too. But this is mainly appointed to my culture at the same time, is when you get your test, or even if you have not, take care of the people that are around you instead of just staring at them, get sick. Because when they get sick more, you're not going to know how much you love them after they're gone.
Mhm.
That is why we say people need to get vaccinated instead of just sitting down and watching TV. It may hurt, and it may, you may have, questions about it. Well, ask those questions so you can get those background and that explicit answer that you want, instead of getting sick and having not to live up to 100 or even over 100.
Yeah.
So saying to all these people, go ahead and get vaccinated. But if you feel wrong and if you feel terrible after and you don't feel right, go visit a doctor, get double checked, and know that your health is still in good.
Wow. Yeah, that was very powerful. Thank you so much, Rihanna. I really appreciate your perspective on how COVID-19 affected you and the community you grew up in. It was really interesting to hear about COVID-19 and how it made a huge impact on you and your community. It is very concerning to know that COVID-19 has not only led to food scarcity, but also many deaths due to the health inequities your community has faced, and that COVID-19 affected the youth's ability to have an income as well as access to education. And I think it was really cool to hear what you said about the concerns of COVID-19 and the vaccines that you've seen, and how we can really make a difference if we just change a few things here and there. And a doctor would intervene and tell the truth, because I think the biggest thing you're saying is, well, if the Navajo Nation would have found the truth and not been misguided by the media, that would have been really helpful. So thank you so much. And I really appreciate you talking about such a sensitive topic. I really hope you have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, well then thank you so much for having me on your podcast.
Thank you all for tuning in to the You in Youth. Stay tuned for the next episode as we continue to dive deeper into the different effects the pandemic has had on the youth and the communities. As always, I would love to have more people join me on my podcast and share their perspective and stories regarding their experiences of COVID 19. If you're interested in being part of this podcast, please email me at sdaulat@email.arizona.edu. That's spelled SDAULAT@email.arizona.edu. Thank you and have a wonderful day.